Driver, start your engine! In the beginning, stock cars outran the police to deliver the hooch to our ancestors. So sweet. Are you ready for a trip down victory lane, where Richard Petty's winnings were insane and Dale Earnhardt put everyone to shame? Canadian Junior Handley is in the Hall of Fame. Live from Haldeman County, it's time for the Driver in Deep podcast. Are you ready?
Welcome to the Driver in Deep podcast, brought to you by wingnutsports.com. Well, Alex, I know that we have a great guest today that's on fire right now, but I must say that you have really pushed disc golf onto a few people over the past couple weeks or so. And I know that we ramble on a little bit about the sport on Driver in Deep, but who would have thought that you would have been a recruiter for disc golf? Certainly not me.
Why?
Well, first of all, in the very beginning, all you did was give me a hard time about it.
Yeah, but I give you a hard time about everything if I can. If I can.
Yeah, well, in this case, it was unjustified, obviously.
Whatever. And it's, of course, with Driver in Deep, we always focus on racing, but we actually get listeners that send us messages saying that they would like to try disc golf. One guy in particular was Brad Halton of drivercal.com, which we'll talk about more in future episodes. But also, me and my wife Sandy, my son Tyler, took her boss out for a round last week after work one day. He was bugging about trying it, and he loved it. He had to go away on business, but when he comes back, he says he wants to go to the golf disc store and buy some stuff. So that was pretty cool. And then my nephew Hudson Nagy and his buddy Alex, we were racing up in Peterborough with his Legend car, and they kept bugging me, asking me questions about disc golf. When we got back, I had to show them my discs in the back of my truck and stuff. And finally, I think it was Saturday, the rain ended, and they kept texting me saying he wanted to go out. And so I met him in Brantford, and we played around at Mohawk Park, and those guys loved it. Now they're out buying their own equipment, got their own bag already, and texted me a couple of days ago, and they played 2 rounds in one day. So they're pretty excited.
Yeah, maybe we should become affiliates of the True North Disc Golf Store, because I think because of us, people are spending a lot of money in that place. But that's great.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's great. Sandy's kissing her boss's rear end. You're definitely doing your part. And I spoke to Hudson at Sandy's birthday party last week, and he was really pumped to go and try it. So I'm glad you guys had a chance to get out. And, I remember it's a pretty cool feeling when you first chuck that disc out there and watch it go a lot farther than you ever thought you could throw it. And that's kind of what hooked me in the beginning. The only problem, though, with the sport, if we are going to compare it to golf, is that if you miss a putt in normal golf, you can chuck your putter anywhere, the closest pond, over a fence. But in disc golf, the only thing you can throw in is yourself, because there's no tools or no other equipment. It's just you and the disc. So no excuses in this game.
That's true, but going back to what you said, that there's no better feeling than the first time you throw it and it goes far. I'm just wondering, when does that happen? Because I've played about a dozen rounds now, and I haven't got that warm and fuzzy feeling you're talking about.
Well, you know what?
And listen, I've seen you play, and I'm sure you don't have it either.
Well, then you're not paying attention very closely. I have a funny story, though, I want to tell you before we get started here with our guest. As you know, I'm recovering from my first disc golf injury to my right forearm, and the timing couldn't have been worse with being away and so on. And I've been trying not to push it too hard, so I've been practicing my putting a lot lately. And the other day, I dragged my disc golf basket outside, and my neighbor Darren, who we talked about before, came over and decided he wanted to throw some putts with me, which is cool. And it was just about dark, and we had those LED basket lights that I just got on so you can see better, and they do help, by the way. They're not good if you throw the disc past the basket any distance. Then, we had to get our flashlights out. Looked like we're out collecting worms out there, I think, for a while. But anyway, I finally made a 50-footer and started packing things up, and Darren grabbed, his whole handful of discs. And I have a dog gate in front of my garage, so the dog can't get out. I don't even have a clue how Darren didn't see it, but he literally tripped and fell right over top of it, and the disc just went flying all over my garage. He wasn't hurt. Again, this is the second time he's had a fall playing disc golf, and the only thing that got hurt was his ego. But I'm starting to wonder if maybe disc golf is too much of a sport for him.
Yeah, well, I'm starting to wonder if it's too much of a sport for you. I can remember you were on here a couple episodes ago, or maybe every episode, whining and crying or spouting off saying that you can't play, you're not going to do whatever those other high impact sports you did were, like softball or 3-pitch or something, and gentlemen's tennis and sailing. You couldn't do that no more because you kept getting hurt. Now you're not even you said you were playing disc golf, which you lied. So you're away for 10 or 12 days without your wife.
Right.
All of a sudden you come home with a strained forearm on your right side.
Right.
And you say it's from practicing your disc golf swing in your hotel room.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I could tell you what it was from, but this is a PG show.
Well, why? If you know better, obviously you were there, so you must have seen what happened. What's different than what I'm telling you?
You got a sore forearm and you weren't even playing.
I was, though. I was practicing my form. And clearly that's something that maybe you should start doing a little more often, and then maybe you will get that feeling of being able to throw a disc that far. But until then,
I can tell you, I could throw a fake disc in my hotel room and not come home with an injury. Well, I can guarantee you that.
Maybe you weren't throwing it hard, your fake disc hard enough. I don't know. But anyway, we got a long way to go in the sport. We're having a lot of fun learning, and hopefully we get out very soon, because my arm is feeling a little bit better, so it won't be long now.
Great.
Yeah, whatever. Why don't you introduce our guest?
Let's welcome in the hottest driver in the early stages of the United Racing Series, APC Late Model Tour, from Stayner, Ontario, Brandon Watson. Welcome, Brandon, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Brandon, no problem. Mark here. Listen, congratulations to the start of your season. 2 for 2 so far in the APC series. Really, you can't get much better than that. And I think the last time you started that strong, you won the APC championship in 2017. How does it feel to get off to such a great start to this season?
Well, it's definitely an awesome start. Like you said, we had a good start in the 2017 season. Lots of good finishes. I think we won a fair amount of races that season, so it's obviously a good start to get two wins in the first 2 races. It's definitely going to be tougher going on. Might be definitely a little bit more difficult the next few races. I think we got 8 total. So try and keep it going, I guess, as much as we can.
Yeah, you definitely have to get it when you can, because, like you say, the competition's not that far behind you at the end of the day.
Brandon, before Alex asks the next question here, did you have to prepare any differently this year compared to other years as a result of the little later start and with all the COVID restrictions? Has it adjusted anything in the way you prepare?
It's hard to say, but I don't really think so. It's just another year racing for me, I think. Done it for, 15 years now or something like that. So for me, it wasn't too big of a deal, because we've raced, in February a lot of years. So it's not too much of a change for us. It's been a bit of a break, but only running like 5 or 6 races last year was a little tough, but it definitely hasn't been too bad for us so far. So we're just getting back in the swing of it. Just try and get back and swing it fast. There's not a lot of time, shorter season only races, but so far it's going good.
Yeah, I got to bring this up, Brandon. Obviously, since I've known you, I think the first time I actually met you, I was with Brad Moran, and you guys were racing against Kyle Busch at Autodrome Chaudier, and Brad brought me over and introduced you to me and your dad, also Tim. And then, of course, next after that, seeing you around, and you raced here at Jukasa a bunch and won a bunch of races we had here, but then seeing in the APC series and different things. One thing I've noticed, and I could kind of relate to this a little bit in my earlier part of my racing career, where I was a pretty quiet guy, fortunate to have some success, and you're a real quiet guy on and off the track. Well, maybe not so much on the track, but you don't say much, win or lose, and you keep to yourself for the most part. And I think because of that, sometimes you're misunderstood. And what I mean by that is not a negative towards you, but when you're not an open book, people sometimes tend to fill in their own pages because they have nothing else to go on. And when you're quiet and you win, sometimes people think that you're arrogant. And like I say, I'm not saying I had the same success as you, but I got some of that too. And now people say I can't shut my mouth. So, but would you agree with that? Not that I can't shut my mouth, but that maybe sometimes you're maybe misunderstood.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's just I guess my personality. It's like that at the racetrack and in my own personal life. Always been a bit quiet. It's getting better, but especially when I was younger, I was quite quiet. Always high note in the trailer, not really high note, but hanging out in the trailer, just minding my business, trying not to get too much confrontation.
Yeah.
It's getting a little bit better, but still, most of the time I don't find myself going out walking, talking to people, but it definitely is a downside to me for sure. I'm not out there talking to people that could be potential sponsors and so on and stuff like that, but it's always something I struggle with, but it is with me. I don't know if it's going to get any better. Hopefully it gets a little bit better, but like I said, it's not always a downfall. I always keep to myself and try not to make too many enemies out there, but when you're on the track, anything can happen. So it's just this is what it is, and trying to do better right now.
Yeah, and listen, it's not a fault, man. I mean, everybody's a bit different. There's some people that talk too much. So, I just wanted to bring that up because for those that are listening, and I'm sure some of your fans will be listening, and you have a lot of fans, but I think the downfall is like you say, maybe potential corporate partners that maybe want to catch a bit of your time. And I think probably the worst part, and again, it's not a fault, but if there's something that you could change is, I always stress that the young people in our sport, young fans are the lifeblood and our future. And I know that you have a bunch of, those young people that follow you. And I think if anything, if you're able to, even try to even be better at that. I'm not saying you're not good at it. I'm just saying if you have more opportunity, I think that would go a long way. But it's true.
Definitely.
Not a fault, but I was telling Mark when I seen you at Flamborough Sunday, just talking to you about the podcast, and you're so shy, if you will, or so quiet. You're like, Alex, are you sure that you kind of need to be on a podcast? And
so many other people.
Yeah, what did I tell you? Of course, man. We're going to get on here and have some fun. So,
yeah.
And I think maybe set the record straight a little bit. So.
Yeah,
worth a shot.
Definitely, your fans want to hear from you, and this is a good opportunity, but there's no question that when you're growing up and you think, yeah, I want to be a race car driver, you don't think about, okay, yeah, but now I have to do all these interviews before and after the race and so on. So, yeah, it is very difficult to do, and I know myself, I grew up in marketing, so it's something that I had to learn how to do and get over, and the nerves and so on, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. And also, like Alex said, when you win a lot, people are always going to have something to say, good or bad. And obviously you're aware of that. And that's just part of sports, to be honest. And I'm sure you're not taking your team's strong start for granted either, as there's always a ton of competition in this series. And it doesn't seem to be any different this year. Would you agree with that?
Oh, definitely. This series is getting better and better in my eyes. Everyone's getting new cars every year. There's new chassis builders coming in. There's new new guys and everything. It's definitely getting better and better. Definitely from 4 or so years ago when it started. It definitely has a lot more coming now. A lot more money being spent, and a lot more. Like I said, cars getting built, and drivers are obviously getting better and better. So it's definitely going to get tougher and tougher as far as we go on. Obviously, two wins and 2 starts is definitely nothing we can't take for granted. A good start, but it's definitely not going to get easier from here. It's going to get harder. I know that, but we just have to keep doing what we can, try and stay in top 5, and hopefully be up there. For races like this, you never know. You may be in third, next thing you know, be in the lead. So just got to be up there, and then hopefully be up in the points in the end.
Yeah, one bad day, and the whole complexion of the point standings change for sure. Backing up a little bit, I know we jumped right into 2021, but for those who don't know, you started way back. I think you were 13 years old or something back at Barrie Speedway in the four-cylinder class. Did you, after the 4 cylinders, before you got into late models, did you race any other division?
No, I just right into my dad's limited late model, and then and then right into super. Or I ran some. I guess it'd be Kawartha late models with McCall's. So yeah, just four-cylinder right to late models.
Right. And and pro late models outlast super late models in Canada and the US, of course. A year in the US, I think 2014 you had a rookie campaign in the CRA series, which is really tough, of course. And you've been to some of the biggest events in Canada and the US. And I guess it's fair to say you've had more success, or more wins, I should say, in Canada. And maybe it always hasn't translated into your events that you raced in down south. Would that be fair? And if that's the case, why do you think that is?
Definitely is true. We've had a lot more success over here. We've had some good runs. Like you said, maybe 14 or something. We ran a pro late in the CRA Jigs All-Star Tour, I believe it was. We had a lot of top fives. We had some second and thirds and stuff like that. But it's just, for me, it's just tougher. They race all year round. They spend a lot of money. Over here, it's nothing compared to what they spend. It's hard to say, like, if that's the reason why. I don't know. I know that we do a lot of, like, McCall's I've always raced McCall's for a while now, and they put a lot of time and effort in the cars, a lot of money. So I can't say it's the car that's the reason. So definitely a tough question to be answered there. It's hard to say what it is. They do race a lot, like, year round. We do go down south as much as we can, try and race in February down to Smyrna, but there's a few things you have to run there. But definitely time spent and money they spend down there is we spend nothing compared to them. Pretty much down there, a lot of their top teams are great to see what they spend down there.
Yeah, I think it's fair. What you said is fair. The fact that there's also, you raced against some people that were professional racers, and that makes a difference. I think a lot of our guys here saw that at the Canadian Short Track Nationals over the past few years, where we had all those big hitters come up here and got exposed to the way those people operate and how prepared they are. So I think you had a fifth in one of the nationals. I think I'm not sure what you were in the other one, but you led for a while in one, and you had a chance to win for sure. Like somebody, JR had a chance to win. He was super fast. So Pritico was second or third once. So our guys here, I say our guys, but the Canadians definitely. Just the second year of the Canadian Short Track Nationals, after being exposed to what the U.S. guys bring, got so much better quickly. So I think it's just tougher when it's deeper, maybe, and more professional teams and things like that. But maybe you didn't win as much, but like you say, you didn't finish last. You're running in the top 5, 10 a bunch, so that means a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I know. Also, you raced in the Winchester 400. And I guess in that race, you came second to Chase Elliott, which I thought was pretty cool because, myself being fairly new to motorsports this year, watching the Cup Series, I wanted to pick a driver from the beginning. And I guess it was an easy pick because he won last year. But I picked Chase Elliott in the number 9 car. And I'm sure Alex can tell you some other reasons why. But how cool was that? To race, and I think also Ryan Blaney was in that race as well, and you came second to Chase. Like, did you get a chance to meet these guys, and what did you think about that?
Yeah, we had quite a few races with a few of those guys in the CRA. I believe I was still close to the Jags Tour. Got Eric Jones, Chase Elliott didn't race this year, but Eric Jones raced the whole year. You got a bunch of guys that raced against down there, Dan Hemrick and stuff like that. But that definitely was a cool experience. We were leading. I don't know if it was most of the race. I know it was the most of the last 3 quarters of the race on that one. It was a 100-lapper pro late model race at Winchester. We had a bit of a lead. Or no, sorry. We were catching up. We were second. My apologies. We were catching up to the 9 Chase Elliott. We might have been saving tires. I don't know. It's possible. We were catching them slowly. Caution came out, and I was pretty excited. I thought we had a good chance, but it was saving tires probably a little bit. So he pulled away on the restart a little bit, but it was a cool race. We've had a few of those that came up, but Billy, I came up to him, shake my hand, good race, and it's definitely a lot of fun doing races like that. Especially, I do enjoy going to Winchester a lot. It's a fun track. Got a lot more speed, I find, too, in some of the tracks. I guess not like Ducaston. That was one that's picked up the speed too for us over here. But you got tracks like Winchester and Nashville, all those big tracks, Indiana, IRP and stuff like that. They're fast tracks, so don't get a lot of that down here. So it's fun to go down over there and race those big tracks and with those big names.
Yeah, and I was talking to your dad, and he probably doesn't want me to tell you what that I talked to him about an inside scoop, but he really, you're so quiet. Your dad didn't even have any dirt on you. But he did. We were just talking about some races and from the past, and one that he thought was really funny or real cool. That was when you're doing the ACT stuff, like you say at Korth. I think you're in a McCall car then, and you guys got invited to go to New Hampshire to maybe it's a 50 lap ACT race there, big 1 mile racetrack. You were 16 years old at the time, and I think you went there early and tested, and you were working with my friends, the LaPearls, who Patrick and his brother Eric, and great family, man.
Oh,
and
sure.
yeah, Mark's actually heard from the LaPearls at a few campfires about bottle and a half in midnight. We phoned Patrick and get him on it better. He phones us, but characters for sure.
Yeah,
competitive guys.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, when you guys tested, these guys had a GPS in the car and some things doing your test, and I think that your miles per hour recorded is 165 miles per hour. I think your dad told me.
Mm-hmm.
That must have been wild.
Oh yeah, those cars were fun. They were fast, probably like pretty light compared to some of the cars out there. Not like I said, not big motor, but they felt fast around there. They got cooking. I'm not sure how fast I was going. I raced a K&N a few years later there in East or something like that. New Hampshire again. It's hard to say if we were going faster in the ACT cars or the K&N cars, because those maybe a little straightaway speed a little bit faster than K&N, a little big motor, but I feel like those ACT cars were rolling through the corner pretty fast.
Yeah, and overall, like you say, overall weight too would be quite a bit less. And I guess, like you say, I think before the race, I guess you practiced and qualified really well too. And it's funny because we've had Derek Lynch on here talking about his father-in-law unfortunately has passed away now, Tom Curley. And I'm sure you were young then, but I'm sure you remember the Tom Curley wrath. And, he, from what I understand, he wanted to talk to your dad to make sure that you understood enough not to stink up the show. And your dad said he'd cover it for him. And he said, I turned my head and looked over, and there's Tom got Brandon cornered over by the trailer or something. Yeah, giving him the what for, making sure. So what did you hear from Mr. Curley that day? What a legend he is.
Oh, I don't remember what he said, but I do remember his driver's meetings, getting his toy cars out and visibly showing you what you're doing, and getting the piggy flag out, I believe I remember too. That was, like I said, quite a few years ago for me, but I do remember his driving meetings are something to remember. They're always fun going there, and he definitely put on a great series, that's for sure.
Yeah, he ran a tight ship, man, that's for sure.
Yeah. We've already mentioned this. You've had, such a nice career to this point. And besides what you're already racing currently, is there anything else that you still want to try to accomplish as far as racing goes, Brandon?
Well, it's hard to say, like, for me. I know this year we got something in the works to run at least one Pinty's race. We believe at Flamborough. It's not for sure locked down yet, but that's, I suppose, always been on the list. It's, they're not, they're good race cars. I tested one the other recently there. They're fun to drive. They're definitely a lot different than a Pro Late model, like an APC car. A little bit different suspension, brakes, and so on. But that'll hopefully be one checked off the bucket list this year. I don't know if I'll ever touch dirt. I don't know if I'll get on a road course. That'd be cool too. But take me back. I raced go-karts when I was younger, but I've never been on the road course since. So definitely be tough for me to jump back into that. But I suppose those will be the next couple things. Other than that, not too sure what we'll do. I'll hopefully get back to speed weeks again at some point. It's always fun going down in February to get some racing in between the season. Yeah,
that's always really cool for sure. And one of the other things that you've done, I think you've done it a couple times now, haven't you? Down at New Smyrna.
Yeah, it's probably been 3 or 4 times, I'd say.
Yeah. And, one other track I just thought about, you went to Richmond for that race a couple of years ago. That must have been pretty cool with the late model.
Yeah, definitely. Richmond was really cool. We also went to Bristol. It was a little eye-opening for me. It was definitely a lot tougher than it's going to be. I knew it was going to be tight, like a tight, fast track, a lot of banking, but it really took a number on me. It tore me down pretty good as my head got a little smaller in there. It was a tough race. We didn't have the best car, but it might have been driver too. Like it was definitely a lot different than, Winchester's is like big. A lot of banking. You're on the gas, like qualifying almost all the way around. It's fast, but Bristol, you drive into the corner, you hit that banking, and it feels like the body just stops. You sit down in the seat, and your head that was a different animal for me. That's probably the most different track I've been on, the toughest track I've been on. I think it's a little rougher than it looks too. Like you said, you drive into that corner, you just suck down in your seat, and you're around the corner just shaking. And by the end of the race, there's only 100 lap or two. I was wore right out, so I might have to do a bit of a workout if I go back there again.
Well, whatever you try next, man, I'm pretty confident that with your ability that you will have some success for sure. And, whatever you get a chance to race, I hope you take advantage of it and have fun with it. You're a third generation racer, and your dad, I know for sure, is front and center in your racing career, from what I see anyway. Maybe you can talk a little bit about how important family is in your career so far and just touch on that. I know anytime we have any successful racer on here, there's usually, a real tight family connection.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, it goes back to, like I said, third generation. Probably more now. I'm not sure about that, but my dad, my grandpa, always at the racetrack. His family always at Barrie Speedway there, and then obviously my dad. Growing up, I think Uncle Glenn raced a lot. My dad had to kind of work his way into it, do his own stuff there, and then I was always at the racetrack growing up, every Saturday night, watching or playing soccer out back at Barrie Speedway. Not really watching, but depends how young I was and what I was feeling like that night. And then, Sunday morning, I turned 7 or 8 like that, getting up at 5 in the morning or somewhere like that to go to the racetrack. So ever since, like you said, it's a family thing. Always out there helping when I could. When I was younger, just watching my dad work on his stuff. And then even transitioning each car and car, always using my dad's equipment and stuff like that. So it's definitely been a big help for me. Definitely an advantage having family because they know the cars. They work on them their own. Like my dad worked on his cars. He did all his own stuff. So getting into it, he was like an inspiration. Like he did all my setup and stuff like that. So he was always the one telling me what to do in the car and helping me work on it. So I couldn't imagine doing it without family, what people do. And I clap to them because they do a good job. I don't know how I could do it without my dad, kind of leading the way, I guess, and showing me how to get stuff done and show me the way of how it works and stuff like that. So it definitely was a huge advantage for me. I couldn't imagine, like I said, without having a family tied to racing, it'd be tough. They definitely paved the way for me and gave me a lot of good head starts, I guess I'd say. Since I was young, so I've been watching it. So it's definitely been a big help for me. I've always been, since I don't even know how old, obviously don't remember being at the track every weekend, like I said. So it's a cool experience.
See, Alex, I know you've talked before about being a young kid at the racetrack and probably hanging out under the bleachers and, just being around the track and, just absorbing the whole atmosphere. And now as you get older and find yourself in this position of being a racer, I mean, what great memories that must have been of being at the track, just running around and talking to people and not being intimidated. That's a great experience and good for you. Brandon, you just mentioned about how big of a role your dad has played in your success growing up. But was there another driver that you were a fan of? And with all the tracks that you've raced at, what would you say your favorite track or type of track is?
I know it's hard to say if I had a role model favorite driver growing up. I don't think I did too much. You got the good guys you always looked up to. But to pick out one, I don't think I'd be able to do that. But, tracks, like I've always loved Barrie Speedway. Unfortunately, it's gone now. That was definitely my starting track. It was my favorite track. It was smaller, but it was always a lot of fun racing the Limit Lane Mall there. You had 2 lanes most of the time. You can win a race on the outside. You do that at a lot of tracks now. But, growing up, I loved racing Kawartha. That was always a fun track for me. I spent probably a couple years there. I know we did a shootout series or 2 going to Kawartha, and then 3 races Kawartha, 3 races I believe is Ottawa, capital city there. It wasn't quite as fun. It was a little tighter track.
Yeah, that was that's an odd one.
Right? Just no banking and real tight.
Two different corners.
Yeah, that was a different track for sure. I mean, we won that series, but it was definitely quite the experience going down there. But yeah, you know, you got tracks like Nagy. It's going to be the best track for a little bit. It's a lot of fun. You always like getting the speed in the car. You like going fast. Sometimes the shorter track, you don't get the best edge out of that, but it is nice to mix those in. I always like going to Peterborough Speedway. That was always my funnest for a while. I like the speed you carry through 3 and 4 there. I've always had a lot of great success there too. So there's a lot of tracks around here that, you know, belong close to me. And then you go down south, you get back into the speed in some tracks, and it's definitely there's a lot of fun tracks around here. And then definitely a lot of tracks you got to go see down the States. Nashville for us was a little bit different. I wasn't a huge fan of Nashville. It's weird corners there. We had an okay race there a couple years ago, but you know, 1 and 2 is so much different than 3 and 4. But there's tracks everywhere like that, and then tracks you go to that you could go back every week, like Winchester, Jacassa, and stuff like that. That really get you going and that get you back to like pretty much fall in love every time you get back to the racetrack.
Yeah, and I think that's a sign of a true and successful racer is when you really never had said anything bad about any racetrack there, that you had something that you liked about all of them. And I think that's important for sure. And you mentioned Jacassa, and not because of my connection, but before I even was at Jacassa, I had always said that Cayuga at the time was that missing link for us in Ontario, or for Canada for that matter, because it was the only place where guys and girls could stretch their legs and race fast, really fast. And I know when I would come to Cayuga, other tracks were a little bit easier for me, and not everybody could go fast at Cayuga or as fast as you needed to. And I think it's the same now as Jacassa, but it's just an important size of racetrack, a different style of racing that I think has been missing for so long in our area and in Canada. So I think that missing link being back is definitely a plus. Mark touched on it. You touched on it. Just before we let you go, I know I talk about this all the time, and it probably gets old to some people, but you talked about playing soccer at the racetrack. I talked about playing with my dinky cars behind the shithouse at Merrittville Speedway when my dad was racing. And, you know, the problem is, I think for a long time there wasn't enough kid stories. And, you know, when you're playing soccer at the racetrack, I know you went to the racetrack, but I'll bet you there was nights you never even saw a race, which same as me. Yeah. You know, but that's my point. And I tell people all the time, we have to focus on kids, because if they come and have a great experience at the racetrack, it's not really a racetrack to them, it's a park. And eventually some of those kids are going to grow up and become true race fans. Like you did, you transitioned into a race fan racer, like I did. Some people just become true race fans. Those kids want to drag their parents back the next week, not to see a race, but to play with their buddies they met from Toronto or wherever, you know. And so, not to harp on it, but I'm glad that you shook your head yes and you said because I think you being a younger guy, if you think that's important, it tells me that there's a lot more than just us old guys that know how important that is to our sport. So if anything else, I think that we all need to make sure that we push that hard, which gets right back to what I said to you earlier about trying to take time for little kids that coming your way at the trailer, post-race or pre-race or whatever, if you can. So that's my rant for today, but I think it's it's just super important for our sport, man. Just super, super important. And listen, we don't want to take up much more of your time, but it was great chatting with you. You weren't shy at all today, buddy. Come on.
Hey,
see, you're not quiet. If people were wondering if you're quiet, they know you're not. Go up and you just got to go rattle your chain.
Yeah.
Hey, Brandon, how can our listeners get in touch with you online if they want to try to follow you?
So we do have Brandon Watson Racing on Facebook. Lagging a bit on most of my stuff, but we'll try and get some updated stuff on there. I don't have Twitter anymore, so it'll mostly just be that right now.
Okay.
Like I said, lagging a little bit on social media, but that's just me again, being different.
Well, social media is not easy, believe me. It can be totally consuming, and then the next thing you know, you spent 2 or 3 hours and you haven't really done anything. So I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Thanks so much for being our guest today. We really appreciate it. Continued success this year. What a great start you're off to, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at the track.
It's perfect, guys. Thank you. Actually had some fun here today.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon. Say hi to your dad and everybody for me.
I will. Thanks, guys.
All right, buddy.
Bye for now.
Yeah.
I told you that Brandon was quite a quiet guy, but every time he straps into the race car, he speaks pretty loud.
Yeah, apparently that's the case this year, especially with 2 wins and 2 starts already. He's having a great start to the season, just like he did in 2017. And, we certainly wish him the best of luck. And folks, as always, please visit Facebook and search for Wingnut Sports and join our page. Also, we're at Wingnut Sports on both Instagram and Twitter. And don't forget to visit our website, wingnutsports.com, and be sure to check the show notes for more information. And don't forget to like and follow us too.
Absolutely. And if you like what you hear, please share with your friends. This has been the Driver in Deep podcast with your hosts, Mark and Alex. Thanks for listening.
Well, we're wide open sideways.
All right, you're clear.
The talk is cheap.
You're clear on this.
We got the foot to the floor. There's only driver in deep.
Gonna be on the inside of you. All right, you're clear. Got a slow boat coming up on your inside. All right, you're clear. You're clear on this. Gonna be on the inside of you. All right, you're clear.